Four-star Admiral McRaven recalls seeing 9 UAPs over a crash site where 9 servicemen died. What is AARO's true purpose? And what did a remote viewer see when he remote viewed the Tic Tac incident? We're going to go over all of this and more in the latest UFO News Roundup. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, first of all, AARO has contracted with Sandcorp, which handles influence, deception, and perception management related operations. This is just like the Twitter files, and it's likely the tip of an iceberg. Why is AARO suppressing whistleblowers? I don't know. But here is Sandcorp, Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, Influence and Perception Management. Specialized in sensitive administrative security policy operations and analytic support services. What in the world is going on with this crazy company? But yeah, here's more information. Here's the PDF about Sandcorp, and I will link to all of this, and you can review it at your leisure. What in the world is AARO doing? Why is it allied with this crazy perception management organization? What is the deal? There's a related Reddit thread, and you can read through that with more information. But it's just really intriguing. Danny Silva and others are talking about this. Yeah, even Stephen Greenstreet, of course, he's seizing on this. Danny says, I wanted to repost without Stephen Greenstreet's thoughts. No offense, Stephen, but they're available on this thread. In 2022, Sandcorp was awarded $1.9 million for AARO support services. Like everything, the public deserves transparency. So what in the hell is going on? I don't know. This is, obviously my mind jumps to controlling information, because that's what Sandcorp apparently does. It's very troubling, but I guess not surprising that the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick would engage the services of such an organization. And it goes on, but I will link to this. Again, I encourage you to read it, because there's some really interesting stuff in it. Just all this stuff. Highly intriguing that AARO would engage the services of a, I don't know if you call them a brainwashing organization or what, but I don't know what else to call them. So let me know what you guys think of this crazy new development and our understanding of the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and AARO. I will have more to say on Sean Kirkpatrick very soon in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. But let's move on to this crazy story. A 4-star admiral recalls seeing 9 UFOs over a crash site where 9 servicemen died. What? Okay, we just have to give this a listen. Okay, new plan. That video is actually copyright protected, so I can't actually play it, but I will link to it and you can watch it at your leisure. But the admiral is talking about a really exciting incident where there were some apparent UFOs that may or may not have been flares, but he doesn't think so. They were in the outback, that appeared over this site commemorating the loss of these 9 service people. So 9 UFOs commemorating the loss of 9 service people. Okay, here are my thoughts on the matter. Yeah, so there you go. Were aliens or non-human beings commemorating the deaths of these 9 people. Why did UFOs contribute to the crashing of this plane? Or are they just, nice guys that are paying tribute to fallen people? Now, some will say that the lights lasted 15 minutes, and that's the length of time that parachute flares last, so it could very well be parachute flares. Hey, it could be totally possible, but why there in the outback where they were? That, and this is a trained observer who did not think it likely to be parachute flares. And why 9? I find that very, very intriguing. Not as solid of a case as I would like, because the potential does exist for them to be parachute flares, but really interesting if it wasn't. Okay, one of my favorite remote viewing teams is Crypto Viewing, which includes Dick Allgaier and Daz Smith, both highly accomplished remote viewers, but their whole team is highly accomplished. And one of their team remote viewed the Tic Tac incident. And when he did so, he actually was able to make contact with the intelligence behind that particular phenomenon, which is something that you get with the remote viewing. It's this process that exists outside space and time, and sometimes these beings are coming from outside of space and time, or maybe they're interacting with their higher self or whatever. I don't know how it works. I don't know if they know how it works. But he was able to make contact with this intelligence, and what he found out I think is going to surprise you. There is music playing in the background, so I am going to have to read his words. So bear with me. I'll try to keep up. What strange creatures have you seen when remote viewing? I'd say the most profound experience I had, I don't know if you can call it a creature, more of an energy. I was working at a Target. We were looking at the Tic Tac video project, and I encountered this intelligent, conscious energy that I felt was some kind of teaching tool, that it was giving me information, and I felt fully immersed in just this orb, this pulsing energy that was teaching me the types of information I could access from different chakra points on my body. That one stands out for me as being very unique because it felt like it was aware that I was there accessing that information. Really fascinating and incredible experience that will stay with me forever. So yeah, I guess so, right? And that's something that really fascinates me about remote viewing, is that these remote viewers are able to actually establish connections with these beings. For example, I shared with you a remote viewing done on the Phoenix Lights incident by Daz Smith and Dick Allgaier, where they were able to sense the being that was controlling that ship. There were multiple beings aboard the ship. There was one leading the way, a Nordic type being, who Dick Allgaier also describes as a catman. He could appear as a Nordic being one moment and a catman the next. And Dick had an amazing experience with interacting with this being. And the catman told him about how the suns are gateways. And I will have more information on that later because we have more corroborative information from Peter Maxwell Slattery about that. But moving on with today's UFO News Roundup. But before I go, what do you think about that? That this remote viewer interacted with the intelligence behind the Tic Tac and found this enlightened being that when it realized he was there, actually started to teach him about chakras and stuff. What? Now, that doesn't surprise me really, because I've come across numerous alien abductions or contact experiences where the beings aboard those ships actually did teach people about chakras and auras and how to get in touch with these abilities that they say that we all have. And indeed, this is a pretty common refrain from the beings. And so it's no surprise that if you're able to get in touch with one of these enlightened beings, that it would teach you these things. And since you can make contact with these things through remote viewing and in a way that's outside of time and space, they can just sit and address you and teach you stuff. I just think that's fascinating. And if this is a true event that happened for this remote viewer, not all remote viewing is 100% accurate, even with accomplished remote viewers like this one is. But if this is indeed a real event, what does that say about the intelligence behind at least that particular Tic Tac phenomenon? And he's talking about the video, so he's talking about the 2004 Tic Tac, the Tic Tac. That seems to suggest that those beings were enlightened and benevolent beings, which is an encouraging thought. But Bob Bigelow is here to warn us that looking into this stuff is a little spooky and maybe opening Pandora's box.
U.A.P program that was done under the auspices of your aerospace company was in effect a military contract that you had to ultimately research the paranormal.
Yeah.
And I gather, considering that Lakatsky, the military project manager you worked with, co-authored a book about it now, and that book went through all sorts of approval processes from the government in order to be released. It
Huge.
suggests that you had a good experience in that instance.
He had a hard time getting that published.
Yeah.
He had to jump through a lot of hoops to make it happen. There were people in his world that were worried to the point, they were worried and afraid of what we were getting into. And they didn't want to see the program continue.
But I assume their hesitancy was about the public relations problem of acknowledging what they were doing.
No,
Okay.
no, way beyond that.
All right.
It was Pandora's box. They were worried about things that are partially true to be worried about.
Maybe we should hold off on getting into this for the moment, because it could be an entire other conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I doubt that conversation will ever happen. I doubt Bob Bigelow will ever go there. But man, I sure hope it does. I want to know, well, what he knows, what he suspects, what he means by opening Pandora's box. But I've just shown one example with the Tic Tac incident of possibly benevolent, enlightened beings, even spiritual beings working with us, and here, hopefully for benevolent reasons, even teaching us about spiritual matters and how we can better connect to these abilities that we all have. And I have been learning some of these abilities over the last few years, and you can too, and you can probably do it better than I can. So I didn't know any of this existed a few years ago. Atheist, non-believer in UFOs, none of this. Coming at this a total skeptic, and I just stumbled upon this really cool vein of information and abilities that we can all tap into, and it's amazing. But as Bob Bigelow points out, there may be a dark side to this as well. If there is light, there has got to be shadow. So could whatever is at Skinwalker Ranch be the shadow? Could there be some dark stuff going on there that the government knew about and did not want to investigate too closely? Is that what went down at Skinwalker Ranch? And is it still going down? By the way, if you haven't seen season 4 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, I highly recommend it. Really great stuff. I didn't do a wrap-up, but I'll just give my thoughts real quickly. I guess that's a UFO News Roundup. They discovered a time anomaly. That's right. They discovered possibly alien technology, non-human technology, whatever you want to call it, that has an effect of manipulating time. And this was actually observable and detectable on their instruments at one particular instance. There's also some really other wonderful stuff that came out of this last season. They have UFOs disappearing behind the mesa. Another UFO that actually went through the mesa. It went in one side, and out the other side, a completely trans-medium object. And in the final episode, we find out there are actually tunnels underneath the mesa and the ranch. I mean, how juicy is that? I can't wait to see season 5 where they try to investigate these tunnels. That's going to be juicy. But anyway, I take Bob Bigelow's point that if there's a light, there's got to be darkness, and it's got to come out somewhere. Why not Skinwalker Ranch? In other news, we have a UFO video that's been making the rounds lately, and it seems to be an authentic video, a very interesting video. I probably should have included this in my UFO video roundup, but I forgot to do that. So here we go. Extraordinary clip of mysterious aircraft with spinning fiery thrusters branded UFO. Shocking footage which appears to show an unidentified aircraft with spinning fiery thrusters has rocked the UFO community. So are you prepared to be rocked? The clip appears to show an unknown craft similar in shape and design to spaceships seen in the hit film Independence Day. The UFO-like craft I like how it says UFO-like craft. Also seems to have a fiery thruster on the back that burns with different intensities. At one point, the blazing thruster starts spinning and the entire UFO turns into a fireball in the sky. The blaze then subsides into a spinning line of flames. And the provenance of this video, always important in these matters. The video was originally filmed by a local resident on their phone in the borough of Cerro Havana. I may be mispronouncing that. In Cuba in 2019, but resurfaced on social media, going viral after Cuban journalist Juan Manuel Cowell, 62, shared it on his America TV Miami channel. Okay, and without further ado, here is that UFO video.
Esto es como un extraterrestre, algo así. Una bola de candela en el aire, mira para eso, tú. Mira aquello, mira, menos que está mirando. Oye, pero como tiene distinto.
Okay, I've got to see that transformation again. All right, so it's a big fiery ball, and then it is not. Was it going interdimensional there for a minute, then it phased back into our reality? Was it trying to cloak itself or performing repairs in some other dimension, and then it snapped back? Was it time traveling there, and then it came back into our time stream? I don't know, guys. I think this is an authentic UFO. That's my personal opinion, but I'm open to your guys' thoughts. So let me know what you think about this. Is this a drone? Is this CGI? Is this all a big fake? I mean, it could be. Totally could be. So many of these are fakes, and so many of these fakes are so good. I'm certainly not going to come out and say this is 100% legit. But it looks good to me. I think this is likely a credible and authentic sighting of an exotic craft, the very kind of craft that Sean Kirkpatrick says does not exist. Finally, this is UFO news in the sense that it's UFO related, and it's happening now, but it is the Stoklik Museum in Berlin is currently running an exhibition titled A UFO in 1665, The Air Battle of Stralsund. What? So there's actually a museum that is having an exhibit dedicated to this exciting UFO encounter. It's one that I have not studied in great detail, although I have heard about it. But let's read about it. In April 1665, 6 fishermen witnessed a celestial phenomenon that would leave many theories but few answers to the people of Stralsund, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. As the day turned into night, an aerial battle would ensue in the skies above the Baltic Sea. After the battle, a dark gray disk appeared high above the center of the city. After a while, out of the sky came a flat round form like a plate, looking like the big hat of a man. Its color was that of the darkening moon, and it hovered right over the church of St. Nikolai. There it remained stationary until the evening. The fishermen, worried to death, didn't want to look further at the spectacle and buried their faces in their hands. On the following days, they fell sick with trembling all over and pain in the head and limbs. And of course, physical effects are common for UFO sightings. I'm more familiar with the 1561 UFO battle in Nuremberg, where you have these rods and balls seemingly at war with each other, or something like that. There were balls inside rods. Anyway, it was a crazy aerial battle of exotic objects that people were seeing in the skies over Nuremberg, Germany, in the 1500s. So apparently the Stralsund event was not an isolated event, and people were seeing these UFO battles take place. Now, are these authentic experiences or not? I don't think we have enough information to judge, but highly intriguing nonetheless. And super interesting that there is a current museum exhibit devoted to one of these UFO battles. So I thought that important enough and interesting enough to include in today's UFO News Roundup. So let me know what you guys think about all this. We've got a remote viewer remote viewing the Tic Tac and encountering an enlightened being, teaching him about chakras. We've got the true predisposition of AARO toward brainwashing and perception management revealed potentially with this alliance with this shady organization that does just that. We have this crazy event in Australia where it appears that UFOs may have been commemorating 9 fallen people. We've got Bob Bigelow warning us about the dark side of UFOs and how the government knows about it and didn't want to open Pandora's box, which, you know, may be the only intelligent thing the government has ever done. And then we've got the museum exhibit currently taking place commemorating a UFO battle that happened hundreds of years ago. I think that's very exciting. It shows the public zeitgeist of the UFO movement. So I think that's really cool, but let me know what you guys think about all of this. Is all this nuts? Was that remote viewer crazy? Is Bob Bigelow off his rocker? What do you guys think about all this in the comments below? And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing off.